Hey everyone, my name is Keiren and I am a part of a professional writing class that specifically is talking about activism. And I'm doing a video essay on a whole project that is about COVID and how it has affected mental health of people. And for my specific project, I chose to do a remote online versus traditional online college class survey, and I sent that to a group of different students at different colleges to try and get a diverse data point for my information. I chose to do this because I think it's very important to talk about, explain, and make people aware of the effects that remote online classes have on students, because teachers say it's a lot harder for students and they know that, but I don't think they really know the extent of it. And I just thought it would be a good idea to explain this, and hopefully people can see it and understand why students are so down right now and why they're feeling so stressed, because this is a lot different than a traditional online class, especially in person, but that's kind of known. So, to further explain the online versus or remote versus traditional, a traditional online class is where you don't meet over any sort of video platform. A traditional online class, you kind of just do the work on Blackboard and that's that. So, say most classes you would post on a Tuesday, reply to a discussion on Thursday, and then quiz or paper Sunday. That's kind of like the base and most general explanation for that. A remote class, you do all of that, but you also meet in person on some sort, or not in person, but on some sort of video platform such as Zoom, WebEx, Blackboard Classroom, so on, so on. And I know for me that's been very, very taxing these past 3 semesters, but I wanted to see how other students felt, which is why I wanted to do this, because some students I've talked to, they've said the same things, and I just kind of don't think people understand, like, why students are feeling this way. So I wanted to bring awareness to that if possible. So I'm going to go over some of the questions, like, kind of basically, just because they're kind of known, but I also think it's important to mention. But there is one question I really want to talk about. So to start my survey, I just kind of gave a brief overview of what my survey is going to be about and what a traditional and remote class are. So I asked, are you normally a student to take all or mostly online classes? If yes, please explain why. So a lot of people said no, and a lot of people also said that they want to be on campus, so that's why they're taking online or in-person classes. And another big one was that they think it's too hard to take an online class, or they would say no and then still answer that they prefer to take some in or online classes but not that many, which I would say I agree with, just because I find online classes to be kind of like a break for me. If I don't have class Tuesday, Thursday, but I need to take a class that is, and it's also offered online, I'll take it online, just because it still gives me my Tuesdays and Thursdays free. I just have to sign on for about an hour, if that, and then do the work and I'm done. So my next question was, do you think there is a small or major difference between traditional online classes and remote learning classes? Most people said yes, and they also said the biggest difference was that you meet you meet face to face over a video platform, which that was kind of obvious to me. But some of the smaller differences were attendance policies. Some teachers were saying that students weren't really allowed to miss days because they're meeting over the internet, so why should they have to miss? And then some other people were saying that they could sleep through class without their teacher knowing because you didn't need your camera on. So they could miss class and it wouldn't really matter. Um, those were probably the 2 most popular answers, I would say. And then I asked, would you rather do a traditional online class or remote learning class? And then I asked why, why for whatever answer you chose. Most people said traditional online because it's a lot less taxing and it's a lot less stressful on them, which I completely agree with. So this is kind of the answer I really want to talk about, or the question I really want to talk about, because this is the part where people kind of don't understand what's going on. So So this is all anonymous, by the way, so I don't know who said what, which also makes this really interesting. Um, but for the people that said they wanted to take traditional online classes, they said it was really hard for them to meet at a scheduled time. The reason they choose to do online classes is for the flexibility. They want to be able to work during the week. They want to be able to do A, B, and C, but with remote classes, they can't because you have to meet at a specific time on a specific day. And I totally understand that. And then some people did say remote COVID class, or I call them remote COVID just because that's when it started. But a lot of people said they wanted to do remote classes over traditional because you get to meet people in your class, you get to meet your teachers in a way. And I am thankful for that because I did find a roommate this way in a group project, which I thought was awesome. But speaking of group projects, that was something someone answered. They said they would rather work in a traditional online class setting for group projects because you don't really see them ever. So if they weren't really to do anything, you wouldn't know who they are. But in a remote class, you still see them, you still know what they did, if they did something, blah 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 blah. So I thought that was actually really interesting because I never thought of it. But another person said they would rather do traditional because they feel more free with what they're saying. They don't know what the teacher looks like, what the other students look like. They don't know if someone's a boy, a girl, based off a name. They just don't know. So it's easier for them to, say, write a discussion post about something controversial because they don't know their audience. They don't know their race, their culture. They don't know anything. So it's easier for them to say, this is what I think, this is what I read it as. Whereas if you can see people, you don't want to step on somebody's toes. You don't want to aggravate or be rude to people, which I guess in a way is good, but also not because you're not saying what you feel because you're worried you'll offend somebody. And I think that's kind of sad because college is a place to learn. It's a place to understand the world. And if you can't do that because you're afraid you're going to offend somebody, I think that's just kind of hard. So that was probably my favorite answer I got on that question. And then the very last question I asked was, has the remote learning class made college harder for you? And I did have an open-ended asking why, and most of the people said it was just too stressful, which I understand. So the majority of people said yes, and I was kind of expecting that. But for my personal experience, I have migraines that are very severe. So having to be on a screen so much, that aggravates it. So that's probably the biggest reason why this has been harder for me, because I'm not one to really get them that much, but the past 3 semesters I've gotten them constantly, and it's really affected my schoolwork, my grades, my mental health because of all of that. So like I said, a lot of people did say yes, and then some people said they need to work if they're going to be home, and they couldn't work because of their class schedule, and they didn't have a choice of not meeting because then they wouldn't get a participation grade, they wouldn't get the grade they should have. Another person that said yes also explained that they were too distracted with their surroundings. So this student said, I'm at home, I'm at a friend's, I'm here or there doing my classwork, and it's just too hard for me to focus, so sometimes I just don't even go to class. And it's really affected my grades, my mental health, and I'm really not sure I want to continue college if this is how it's going to be, which I totally understand, and it's so unfortunate that this student feels this way. But I do think that teachers don't realize that meeting constantly, doing in-class work, plus out-of-class work, plus you're in all these other classes, it's very hard for students. And based off the answers I got, I just kind of want to end with this and say a couple things. So I think it's harder for students because this is brand new. You can take online classes in high school and it can prepare you for an online class in college. But a lot of students have never had to do this remote learning medium, I guess you could call it. And so it's brand new and people are not sure of it. They just don't know how to use it, what to do with it, etc. But so I would say that was the biggest one. And I think the last thing is that I want the biggest takeaway to be check on your students, check on your teachers, check on everybody. Because I went from being like an A student to C's probably, which is very effective or negatively affecting my mental health. And I know grades aren't everything. I know that. But just to see the difference because of the what I'm being taught on and how I'm being taught, I don't really think it's fair to students to do that, and especially for it to affect their mental health in a way that's not good just because of the type of learning they're doing. I really think something needs to be done about that or looked into or even changed, because it would be hard for teachers to transition everything to completely online traditional class, and I do understand that. But I think if there was a little bit more leeway with this or that, and a little bit more leeway with classes and absences, I think the outcome would be very, very beneficial to students and even teachers. So I just think that's something that needs to be talked about more and needs to be looked into more and should definitely be changed. So I hope this brought awareness to some people, everybody, and I hope you guys got some ideas for things to change and things to do. So I really appreciate your time. Hope you guys have a great day.